Paul,
Yeah. Right.
how did you come to acquire your brain injury?
Well, it's to do with an amount of travel that I went from 1978 to 83, and I wound up in some country areas like Nimbin, New South Wales, and possibly Byron Bay and Mullumbimby. And at that stage I was on the binge with wine, you know, and marijuana. And I was mixing the both and wound up sort of like exposed to the elements. I was living in a car, station wagon, but exposed to the extreme cold in that. And I sort of like got broke down with the mixture of the alcohol, marijuana and the elements. So I sort of like noticed something about myself then and thought, you know, this is like a sort of a broken person I've turned into, you know.
So it was a gradual process.
It was gradual, but it was like being on the binge continually and noticing that there were certain things that was going wrong, you know, and that my health was declining and all that. But I eventually got away from there and come back to Melbourne, my home base, where I was educated in Melbourne. And I sort of pulled myself out of it, and I've been abstinent alcohol and marijuana for 20 years now. So I've got right past it. But I believe there's some reference to brain refurbishment from going away from it, you know?
Yeah, I love that, refurbishing.
Yeah, well, that's it, you know? You've got to
Yeah,
notice the restructuring, you know?
of course.
Yeah.
I love that, refurbishing the brain. That's wonderful. So how has working with Arbias changed things for you?
Working with the bias has changed things because I've had an opportunity to share myself with music and other musicians, and like we go to a studio once a week, sponsored by Arbias. They pay for the studio use, and we get together and we just get into this harmonious thing that, you know, you're going sort of above things that are usual by psychology and that, because it's this rhythmic pattern that you're all achieving all together. And, you know, it's like one of these things, you stumble across a tool that's just a bit above what the average people go through, you know. And once you've done that and you're really experiencing and liking it, you know, that's why I'm sticking with the bias and saying this is really great therapy, and, you know, getting a good time for that side of it, you know.
Paul, let me know a little bit more about what the band brings to you and how you go about your practice.
All right, yeah. Well, with the band, it used to be at one stage called the Deep End Band, and that was 8 strong, right? We got cut in half, and it's now 4 strong. But there's an inclusion of one lady now that sings with us. And so we had a DVD put out by the Deep End Band, you know. And at that stage, we were sort of doing a few gigs, and we had a concert at the Thornbury Town Hall, or Northcote Town Hall, the one on High Street there. And we had an issue of 100 DVDs on the night, and then we had to go to St Vincent's Hospital to get a, launch for the DVD, you know. And we had a smorgasbord, a great big screen to look at. We launched the DVD that night, you know, and I've been able to give a few to people, contacts and things like that, to keep in touch with the, you know, the band exists and all that. But, you know, we had a very calculated lead singer by the name of Alan Stubbs. He's an elderly bloke, but he could just get tunes completely and utterly registered in his head, and he wouldn't even have to look at a book or anything, he'd just know it, you know. And so he had the duty of just being the singer, you know, and so we were sort of led in a certain way then, but now we've lost him, but he's just recently joined another band who uses the same drummer as the band we're in, but they're aside from us, but they're not with anything calculated by bias. So the drummer's doing some strange stuff, but it doesn't mean anything of less inclusion with him, with our band, you know, because the strange thing was we got a new guitarist in the band who's just right up above everything, you know. He's one of those sort of what you call elite guitarists, you know what I mean? And it seems to me that the drummer likes to stick with our band because we've got this new sound coming on, you know. And I mean, we were doing a version of Leonard Skinner's Sweet Home Alabama. And the other guy just gets into these riffs, but they're exact ones, you know, like straight out of the United States and doing these riffs in front of us, you know. And so I was just like enchanted by the whole thing, that this guitarist was, you know, back with us and doing a good job, you know, and sort of like, it's working out a better way because the drummer was nearly going to pack it in. And he said the last chance you got is to get this guitarist and come on board. And so we worked it out a way, we're back on board and it's all worked out.
Does everybody in the band have a brain injury?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah. That was a strange thing. See, the drummer said to me one day, if we do get a new guitarist, we've got to get him on the source of like a brain injury subject or a disability one. And the one cropped up, you know, he lives at SRS in Ringwood.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so one cropped up and that's the way it went with the scenario of the drummer, you know, doing a postulate about they'd have to have some sort of...
Brain injury.
Yeah, something like that. But
or
you know...
disability.
Yeah, disability sort of thing, yeah. So that worked out extra well, you know.
Excellent.
And so we've got a big sound going on and it's good. Yeah.
Great. I can't wait to hear something. So you were speaking about DVDs before. Have you ventured into the digital world?
Yeah, well, in actual fact, we've got a posting on Facebook that happened at Hope Springs 2024. Hope Springs is Heidelberg. It's like a parish church. And we've got a small clip of part of Johnny Be Good on that. You know, it's good enough to look at, you know, and we've got, I think it's 1.7K views. That's 1,700 views already.
That's wicked.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, before we go from here, I can give you the information about it, look it up.
Yeah. So thanks for coming in today, Paul.
Yeah, no worries. That's good. Yeah.
You can get down on the river and meet a spare time. She can twist a child to a stranger, can make it near time. She can be just like a other, but don't call it on. Both time, don't call another till you next look to the ball. Both times said to the stranger, you can dress about. Both times talk to the boss, you don't have to wear a towel. In this land of God's living place, I gotta make up room to find. That's the very heart of a woman when it does the time. You promise, man, when you send to them, but don't give up the point. Very man sent to immigration.
Mario, could you introduce us to Arbias, please?
Yeah, certainly. Arbias is a not-for-profit organisation, and it was created in 1990, so well over 30 years ago, and it was put together by a group of family members concerned for their loved ones who are unable to access services for people who had acquired brain injury. And so over the years it's evolved, and now we provide a range of support services. We specialise in supporting people with acquired brain injury and comorbidities, but we also have neuropsychological services on site, and they provide assessment and intervention services, and also provide training not only to our staff but to other organisations. We have a range of support services from community programs, and you'll hear from one of our participants today. Core support, which provides support to people in the community in terms of community access, right through to intensive case management, and a range of other services in between. We've also got residential services in the community, and we partner with the TAC to deliver those services for people with acquired brain injuries.
Sounds like a very expansive offering.
It is. It's quite extensive, and we have a great workforce, an incredible team. Many of them work across different program areas. I, as the State Manager of Client Services, have a small team of state managers that assist me to provide oversight, mentoring and coaching to our team. But really it is about our team, our staff, and the level of service and the quality of services they provide. They're just amazing group of people. Very dedicated, compassionate, and hardworking. I don't ever hear them saying it's too difficult, it's too tough. They just get on with the job with compassion and care. So I'm really proud of them.
What brought you to Arbias? What experience did you have?
Yeah, quite an interesting journey. I'd worked with the Department of Justice and Community Safety for 30 years at senior management and operational levels, but often working with clients, people coming out of custody and people on court orders. And over those years, there were a number of things that really resonated with me, and that is that the ability to provide wraparound services, support services to people who are marginalised, who are sometimes making wrong decisions, but with the right support, they can turn their lives around. So when I decided to move on from the department, I came across a job ad from Arbias, and it really, again, it resonated with me because in terms of the values, the work, and the people that were involved, it was something that really attracted me to the role. And I'd heard of Arbias, I knew of Arbias for many years, and was really impressed with their values, their reputation in the community, and the services they delivered. It was really, it's quite a specialised, unique service, and the people that worked with Arbias were very talented, very skilled, very committed, and I thought I'd like to be part of that organisation.
Wonderful. I know I landed in Melbourne for the second time in 2011. I've seen Arbias over that entire time. I'm quite stunned that it's taken this long for me to actually approach you guys and say, we'll ask for an introduction.
Yeah.
So what do you see, how do you see the worth of Arbias becoming more widely known?
Yeah, that's a good point, Eva. It's we are quite specialised and rather unique in our offerings and services, and we don't really promote, and we don't have a strong media presence or social media presence. So it's something certainly we're looking into, and in fact we're doing some work on our social media profile at the moment. When I was working with Justice, I suppose I understood Arbias' work because of our connection, but it's not very well known, apart from perhaps some allied health services and some organisations in the community that do know us, but there's certainly scope to broaden our brand and to really promote the good work that we do. Yeah.
So you've been in your role for about 14 months, you tell me.
Yeah.
How do you see, what are your dreams for Arbias? What would you like to work upon? How would you like Arbias to grow?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because we've been spending quite a bit of time on our strategic planning, our future focus, and where we would like to go. And can I say that we have a really inspiring CEO in John Eyre and the board of management, and we have a very clear strategic direction in terms of where Arbias is placed. So for us, future growth really looks like working in the complex needs space, working with people with complex needs and providing a comprehensive wraparound service, from the neuropsychological assessments right through to the interventions and the supports and the coordination, a whole range of other wraparound services, and bringing in like-minded other professionals and services, such as your occupational therapist, your speech pathologist, people who are similar in terms of values and understanding, and working with people with acquired brain injury. So that's part of our focus. We're also branching out, looking at opportunities in the regions. and looking at what we need to do in terms of mobilising our workforce, the skills, the logistics, which is quite a challenge, and how do we get to that next level where we're able to provide services for agencies, for authorities such as TAC and WorkSafe, but out in the regions. So that comes with its own challenges. We are increasing our workforce and employing a number of people, both in the casual and permanent part-time positions and full-time roles. But it's not just about filling vacancies, it's about the right fit. People who have got similar values, got the right skills, the right training and commitment to the role, and that we can match them with the clients, the participants, and it is a good fit. It's really important that fit is well considered, and that we match the right person with the participant. Yeah.
What about peers? Is there space for work with peers? Because I always see people that have brain injuries as actually being the true authorities of brain injury. So how does Arbias utilise peers? Yeah, and that's definitely one of the areas that we'd like to explore, particularly in working with people with lived or living experience, particularly with people who can share their own journey, their own story, and in a consulting advisory type role, can talk to us about what we're doing well and perhaps areas that we need to improve. It is a slow kind of process, but it's certainly something that we're interested in developing, and we'd like to, I think, develop that area a lot more and bring on board, invite people who have had lived or living experience, people who can talk to us about, areas that really need to be addressed, and what works for them, what they need, particularly from services like Arbias. Yeah, absolutely. That's great to hear that you're actually considering the voice of the peer, because it's so necessary. Yeah, absolutely. And it's been something that's been silenced for so long. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And it has its own challenges in terms of making the work environment supportive and can accommodate individual needs and so forth. But I think with goodwill and some supports, that's more than achievable. And what we're set to learn and gain from that experience would be invaluable. We do have an advisory group that on occasion will come together and provide some advice, but unfortunately that hasn't been working as well for over the last 12 months or so. So I think it's time that we bring that together again and open the invitation to more people who are interested, who'd like to participate. Great. And so, absolutely, it's something to look forward to. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for coming in and talking about Arbias, Mario. Thank you very much for the invite. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Australia has a robust network of organisations that provide support services for people with a neurological condition. This extensive support system is crucial given the diverse range of neurological conditions, from common ones like epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, and stroke, to rarer conditions and acquired brain injuries. These organisations work tirelessly to address the multifaceted challenges individuals and their families face, encompassing everything from initial diagnosis and information provision to long-term care, rehabilitation, and social inclusion.
They explained everything to me, like it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be challenging. And they told me that it will your social skills will necessarily get better as you get older. But when I was younger, they would just tell me that I can interact with people from one-to-one rather than in groups.
VALID, which stands for the Victorian Advocacy League for Individuals with Disability, is a non-profit organisation that works to promote and protect the human rights of adults with intellectual disability in Victoria. Their core mission is to empower people with intellectual disability to have greater choice, control, and participation in their own lives and within their communities. VALID provides one-on-one support to adults with intellectual disability to help them resolve specific problems or issues they might be facing. This could involve difficulties at home with a disability service provider or with accessing the National Disability Insurance Scheme. They focus on helping individuals speak up for themselves, explore their choices, and get the information they need to make their own decisions.
I'm working at Valid 2 days a week. On Thursdays, I'm doing presentations around My Home, My Plan, which is about getting people, we're doing booklets with them around their home and living choices if they wish to move out in the future. So they just tick and circle what supports they may need, if they want a pet, stuff like that. And on Tuesdays, we're going to be doing presentations about speaking up and skilling out, which is knowing the first signs of abuse, how to make a complaint, and an exploitation. I'm doing this with adults with intellectual disabilities.
The organisation also engages in systemic advocacy. This means they work to influence government policies, service providers, and other authorities to ensure that the voices and needs of people with intellectual disability are heard and considered at a broader level. They strive to bring about systemic changes that improve the lives of all people with intellectual disability. A significant part of Valid's work is dedicated to self-advocacy. They empower people with intellectual disability to become strong self-advocates by developing skills and confidence in speaking up for themselves. They also create the ability for people to connect with others and use their self-advocacy skills, such as through their self-advocacy networks across Melbourne. This has led to opportunities for many involved with Valid to connect with young people in schools.
So more awareness in mainstream primary schools and high schools. So you're not feeling isolated when you feel like you're the only person. By doing like presentations from prep to year 6 about not just physical disabilities but intellectual as well. So knowing that it's okay to be different and don't shut them out if they're acting strange or unusual. We're going to go to primary schools, mainstream ones, about intellectual disabilities and autism awareness. We're going to speak from our perspectives of what it was like, because both my friend and I have both been, they wanted people who have been to a mainstream school and not really understanding themselves as an autistic person. From my own personal experience, because when I was growing up there wasn't much awareness around intellectual disabilities and autism around mainstream schools. So you can better educate people from your own experience, I guess.
The organisation also offers a range of training and consultation services, now often delivered through their subsidiary, Valid Connect. These services aim to further empower people with disabilities and their families, as well as assist disability service providers. In essence, Valid works to ensure that adults with intellectual disability in Victoria can exercise their human rights, have control over their lives, and actively participate in society, both through direct individual support and by advocating for broader systemic change.
When I finished the Valid 8, my manager let me know that there was other work available. Valid 8 is where we go into disability group homes and we interview people who live in these group homes and ask about their home and living choices. You have someone speaking from a person living with also a disability presenting this, then they get a better insight and view on what you can relate to the person. And this work has helped me grow as a person on my public speaking skills.
That's all for this week. If you want to get in touch, send us an email. We'll see you next week.